Dear friends, dear participants of the forum, I kindly suggest that we all be seated. Hopefully we shall take timely. I think this kind of platform, think tank forum, should be always timely. Distinguished friends, distinguished participants of the forum, we are glad to welcome you on our specific panel session. We're about to discuss the introduction of AI, artificial intelligence. I will now turn to English language because our distinguished panelists understand English language better.
Dear friends, once again, welcome to our panel session. We have a very distinguished group of people, and I would like to say that I'm really pleased to share that we have a professor, Professor Karamjit Gill, Editor-in-Chief of AI Society Journal, Professor Emeritus. And I would like to tell you that I was really surprised to understand that Professor Emeritus is a professor who's still part of university but not acting as a professor. And Professor, once again, thank you for coming to Astana and being with us. The next speaker is Virginia Dignum, Professor of Responsible AI and Director of AI Policy Lab at Umeå University in Sweden. Professor came to our Astana city a few days ago, already enjoyed the wonderful weather and spent a number of wonderful days here on this platform as a think tank forum. Welcome, welcome, Professor. And of course we have our distinguished member of Majlis and Parliament of Kazakhstan, Ekaterina Smyshlyeva. With Ekaterina we met before several times. And I would like to mention that Ekaterina is highly involved in the digitalization sphere, and we already discussed a number of different laws and regulation requirements which are currently happening in the sphere of digital development. We have Professor Hussein Atakan Varol, Director of Institute of Smart Systems and AI at Nazarbayev University. For your information, Professor Varol brings real engineering experience from NASA labs to Kazakhstan's first localized AI model. Professor, welcome. And I would like to mention our speaker, Bayan Kunirbayev, with whom we were working previously and conducted a number of different engagements. And Bayan highly involved into the sphere, I would say, AI. Bayan represents our Kazakhstani AI leadership. And of course, Bayan will be happy to focus and describe what Bayan has done in the sphere and what he is doing and planning to do. Again, as you can see, as I mentioned, we have a quite distinguished panel, and I'm really excited to conduct this panel discussion and acting as a moderator. For those who do not know me, my name is Aken Jumashev. I am a managing partner and CEO of KPMG Caucasus and Central Asia. And again, welcome to all, and have a very interesting and productive session today. Again, talking about this forum, I see that the main topic is a trust. Trust in society, trust in technology, and of course, when we are talking about technology, we are talking about different aspects, and we shouldn't forget about artificial intelligence, because this topic is developing quite quickly. And as a father of three, I could share with you my understanding of artificial intelligence. It's clever as a teenager, it's rebellious, and of course it's completely unpredictable. And looking at all of this, I could tell you that we at KPMG conducted a research. And within this research, 48,000 people around the globe and 47 countries participated. And what we have noticed, 54% of people globally do not fully trust to AI. It means that only 70 2% of people already accepted that AI become a part of their life. 70% of people believe that AI should be regulated, but again, they are not thinking and do not understanding how it should be regulated. And talking about such countries as Kazakhstan, I would say emerging markets, they show higher trust and of course faster adaptation, a greater optimism about AI than developed countries such as United States or UK. And today we would be talking about technology, and of course let me provide the floor to Professor Gil, to you, and let me ask the first question. You already discussed and we have seen your publications in your journal, and over the more than 3 decades you are exploring how people and technology shape each other. You often say that AI reflects who we are in society, and again, in case of saying that AI is a mirror, what do you think it shows us today? Progress, anxiety, or something else? Professor, please, the floor is yours.
Salam, Prabhavet, and greetings. Now, I'm going to just reflect on a few aspects. For centuries, societies have been living with dilemmas of ethics, dealing with the messiness of the world in which we live, sometimes testing the relationship between the global rules and traditional social ethics. In the past, the question was, is it possible to find a balance between the global rules of ethics and traditional rules of ethics, which are socially and culturally constructed and regulated? So the regulation comes in. Now, for example, thinking about the universal ethics, Buddhist ethical principles may be universally accepted, but their use, their practice was always culturally context. It shifted from culture to the culture. So there was no conflict between the global ethics and the diversity of ethics from culture to culture. The question now is, why are we worried about AI ethics? What is that concerns us? Is it that we are concerned the ethics will be integrated in the machine and we will then be regulated by the ethical machine? What are the consequences of it? But remember, this concern only arose very recently. It was the predictive algorithms which led to leaks, surveillance, prejudice, xenophobia, that alerted the public and media and policymakers of the impact and implications for society. Now we see the young people. I don't know about Kazakhstan, but in Britain and other countries, young people from the universities are suffering mental distress. Other people have family concerns about the young people. So that was the concern. Now AI ethics has appeared on this world stage. We're all talking about what are the ethical implications of this new thing which is artificial intelligence. So, well, it has staged. So what should we think about it and reflect on it and do something about it? Well, we know technology is not neutral. It's never been, especially AI, is not neutral. We also have fairly good idea of the tension between global and regional ethics. So what is AI ethics then? Is it machine ethics, or is it the concern that ethics could be and should be integrated into the machine? When we talk about the global ethics, what do we mean by that? Do we mean the ethics in the machine that becomes the global ethics? Or we mean something else? When we talk about the traditional ethics, we not only talk about the moral ethics. What is moral ethics? Socially and culturally constructed and regulated. All societies have regulated the ethics in their own lives. So what is challenge now? Now, technologists or people who are committed to technology for the sake of technology, or committed to finding technological solution to our social problems, they will say, well, leave it to us. So the argument then is, let's align the traditional ethics with the machine ethics. This means aligning. But that is a very narrow view of alignment. What does it mean to align the ethics of Kazakhstan, cultural practices, this, to say, for example, European Union? What are the impact? What are the implications? So really it's not the question of aligning to something else. It's coupling, in finding a balance, finding resonance. Ethics always been hospitality and reciprocity. It's never been more than that. Is it possible to design a machine which could reciprocate our emotions, our feelings, our culture, our traditions? Could it be welcoming to the diversities in which we live? That's the question for the young people. Now, let's look at a scenario. Let's see the Astana Forum gets together young postdocs or doctoral students from the universities around Astana. And then the policymakers, entrepreneurs, professors, get them together in a room. I said, my dear friends, you have a challenge. We want to see the relationship of Kazakhstan diversity of ethics and practices, its relationship to the global ethics. Let's, for the sake of example, say European Union. Regulations of ethics is universe. It's universe, for the sake of example. So what should the young people, other people do? You tell them, okay, we ask you to look at the society application area. Health, medicine, water, environment, and we would like you to come up with a machine which deals with these issues. Now go back and see how is it related to the global ethic of European Union. Find out what are the difficulties, what are the problems, what are the challenges, what are the disparities. And then you say, okay, we have at least looked at this. Now you say, now you've done the homework, now look at China. The basic tenets of EU, 2. Fairness and not responsibility. You can quote responsible ethics or trustworthy AI. Just take two elements. Don't bother about it. Look at China now. See what are the differences. Then you say, okay, next stage is we go to India. Just check. So it means we are looking at the relationship between the regional and Kazakhstan ethics in relationship to what we call global EU, global China, global this. Now, if you do that, why should you worry about consensus of global ethics? What is it? If it's not machine ethics, then what is the consensus? Why bother about consensus when you can have the regional blocks and you want to live with the regional blocks and influence each other? So that basically is my example. But what can AI society do for you? It offers you platform for networking with other researchers. Offers you platform to publish your research. It offers you platform to mentor each other. It offers you platform to disseminate your research. So that's what AI can offer. And that is the very pragmatic, practical way of going beyond the traditional way of writing papers. Thank you.
Professor, thank you very much for your highlight of this approach which is used globally, because for us it's quite important to understand what's the meaning of ethics. And all of us are using right now artificial intelligence. And you know, people always afraid those things which are unpredictable. And when we see this unpredictability in terms of different technologies, of course, the main question, what it could lead and what could happen in the future. On this point, let me move to another speaker. Екатерина Васильевна, позвольте к вам обратиться.
Miss Ekaterina, please, may I address to you. If we will look at the moment that our Professor Karamji told us, he discussed the ethical moments, that they have the place to be, and the Kazakhstan is a place where we adopt, implement the new technologies. We always try to be like in a trend. And the question for you, what do you think regarding the ethical norms for the application of the artificial intelligence? And with respect to Kazakhstan, that is the hot topic for us. And what do you tell, can you tell about the digital legislation in Kazakhstan and in general usage of artificial intelligence on our national level? Thank you. Thank you very much, dear colleagues. I am glad to welcome you on this very interesting platform. This platform always was the humanitarian platform, but nowadays we see that humanitarian sphere cannot be divided from the technological sphere, because it influences directly, and the humanitarian artificial intelligence nowadays is very capable nowadays. And the topic of today's speech is also very interesting. That is the world agenda. It's not only the agenda of our country, that is the things that is discussing on the international conferences. So regarding the law, I may say, as a policymaker, as a person who is related to the digital law, I may talk about the artificial intelligence with respect to the ethical rights, ethical rules. So the first trend that we see nowadays, that is the fact that world regulation is still soft nowadays. So even the ethical standards that are applying nowadays, they are not obligatory. And this tendency nowadays, if, for example, within the internal algorithms, it's developed within the corporate limits.
Regulatory one is elaborated, but at the moment it only bears the recommendatory character. So this is a very this compliance bears conditional character. You can use it as an as to orient, but it does not bear regulatory power as such. And we are conducting discussions on very comprehensive discussions where we talk about standards and maybe even establishing an agency, the same as an IAEA that would regulate this sort of issues. But still, these tools at the moment are weak enough, and all the focus is on the local regulatory models. World countries and those countries that have federative units, they have, each federative unit has their own regulatory norms, and then at the very high level they have a comprehensive approach. So the second trend is the growth in terms of local regulation powers. And local regulations undoubtedly are based on international standards, but every local regulation model have their own approach, their own solutions, and as previous speaker said, that is okay to have your own approaches and your own models in terms of ethical standards. But we observe another trend. The local standards today focus not on certain abstract regulatory recommendations, but they focus on a rather strict models. Many countries are apt to treat the certain standards as the product. The others turn into the criminal procedures and codes. The next trend is undoubtedly, we know that as of today, in general, in digital technologies, there is crisis, administration crisis, when the law represents a so-called turned upside down triangular body. The administrative agency. So this upper part of the triangle is providing administrative procedures in a very unclear way, and hence the consequences, including the nihilism in law, and there are people who comply with norms and regulations, the others do not comply with norms and regulations, and then the cries of inequality, injustice occurs. Therefore, it is important to understand that in digital world, approaches to strict regulatory tools should change. The regulation should be comfortable, convenient. Moreover, we see a worldwide trend that self-regulation is actually being introduced in the market. And this self-regulation, this internal compliances are taking place actively, and there are lots of ethical codes. The notion of academic justice are occurring as self-regulatory tools. Associations, societies, professional units, these are all the branches of this developing self-regulatory, let's call it, layer that we hope will be very just with their own consumers, and they will develop professional approaches to regulating, including regulating the AI. The next trend is IT focus that is shifting from the state, that is traditional regulatory body, to corporate ethics. Corporations, transnational, they have transnational character, they bear transnational character, and I don't know whether it's for good or for bad, but the corporate ethics are dominant today in researchers, and we should understand and talk about this. And we call on ethics, not only in terms of public sectors, public systems, but we call on the corporate lobby and corporate bodies to do this as well. Another challenge are the current discussions on the rights in terms of AI, and I will not go in detail here. However, there is widespread discussions and worldwide. And in conclusion, that there is a trend of eternal optimism and euphoria regarding the AI. And this wave of euphoria, our regulatory agencies and lawmaking agencies have lost the standpoint, and this may lead us to make certain incorrect decisions, incorrect solutions, and because our society is now generating this bubble, this does affect the decision solutions that the regulatory bodies make. We need to understand that the regulatory body needs the cooling, freezing period just to stop and ponder over, to think about. I think the lawmaking bodies need this to stop for a while and ponder over for a while in order not to kill the technology and not to destroy the balance in development. That's all. Thank you. Thank you. I was expecting that you deep dive in this topic, but what I liked, you've delineated it not only in depth, but you've also mentioned the trends. You've mentioned, we do understand that there is certain hype, there is certain, and when this momentum ends, we need to understand how to self-regulate. Thank you very much. And I believe that if we have this kind of in-depth approach and this kind of understanding at Majlis, we will definitely become a avant-garde country. You've also mentioned the
Our Professor Virginia Dignum, and I would like to mention that Professor were involved in the creation of different regulations in OECD, in European Commission, and in United Nations, as was mentioned by Ekaterina Vasilievna. And I think this experience is quite important. And by learning from it, let me ask and you from the angle of call-it zero question. Should we, before how, should we use AI? And why is this question so important? And how can it help us to stay responsible in the world where innovation moves much faster than reflection? Could you please elaborate more on this topic?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much to the organizers to invite me here. It's my first time in Kazakhstan, and I'm very happy to be here. In the last 10 years, I have been working a lot in AI policy, AI governance, the responsible approach to AI, but my interaction with AI is much older than that. The first AI system that I built as a young engineer was in 1986, which shows that AI is not such a young technology, but what is young and recent is the widespread of AI, capabilities of AI. So I would like to answer your question by talking a little bit about what AI is not. The whole forum we have, every session, people have been talking about AI. Almost every speaker has talked about AI. But I would like to share a little bit my experiences and talk about what AI is not. And to make it easier for the translators, I will do something I never do, which is try to stick to a written script. So AI, firstly, is not the solution to all our problems. It should be seen as a tool amongst many, but it's not a replacement for human judgment, and definitely not even a replacement for societal debate. AI is not a teenager. AI is a thing, is a tool, and not necessarily these tools are incomprehensible or I say it, provide random answers. AI can support development and innovation, but the progress and the real progress is about the human values, the governance, and the cooperation between all of us. When we rely too much on technology, we risk to forget what is the purpose of this technology. The challenge is not to build more AI, is to build more trust, more inclusion, and more understanding. Another no. There is no technological fix to social issues. Problems like inequality or sustainability or justice require solutions that are societal, that are political, not just technical ones. So I always say that AI is not a technology. AI is a multidisciplinary field, and we can only address AI if we put all disciplines together. We must remember that all technology amplifies the systems that we have. It can strengthen justice, but it can also deepen injustice, depending on our choices. Also, AI is not intelligent, and AI is not artificial. It is not intelligent because it reflects all our human choices, our bias, our priorities, is built by us, and is built for very specific purposes. It is not artificial because it uses our natural resources. It uses our economic resources, and it uses our human resources. Every time you ask a question to a LLM, to a large language model like ChatGPT, there is a huge amount of people that are behind the scenes making the answers possible. Not only the ones that curate the data, but increasingly all the people that are working to make sure that ChatGPT and all the other tools like that are not causing more harm than benefits. We are making the choices, and we make the choices on where we put our resources, where we put our investments. What we put in AI, we are not putting somewhere else. And these are choices that we make. At the same time, every data set, every algorithm carries a story, and is a voice of who is included and a voice of what is left out. AI mirrors our societies. If we want better AI, we need to start by building better societies. AI is not inevitable. AI is not like the weather. Politicians and the big tech like to talk about AI as it happens to us. No one really understands it. It's complex. It comes from somewhere. We don't really understand it. The only thing we can do is like the weather. We can put a coat or an umbrella or go to the beach depending on the results. But AI is not the weather. We, people, are building these systems. And because we are building these systems, we are making the choices. And we do have the choices. And these choices need to be reflected in the national strategies, in the scientific research, in the technological innovation. And there are many paths to follow. There is not only one path. Societies, including those in Central Asia and Kazakhstan, need and can decide how and when and why to use AI to serve your regional and national needs and priorities. Different cultures can shape AI to their own image, and Central Asia has a huge and very rich tradition on wisdom, on cooperation and community values. These values need and should guide how AI is developed and used in your region. AI is not virtual. It has a footprint. The data centers, the energy, the rare materials, the people behind the screens. Sustainability in AI is not optional. It is essential. As we build it, we need to be aware that it consumes human, social, and natural resources. We need to factor in sustainability factors. We need to factor in fairness when we decide on the design and the deployment. Governance is not against innovation. Governance and regulation is not against AI. It is an enabler. Regulations can support the trust, can support the innovation in the right direction, and it can ensure accountability, helping and making sure that AI serves societal transformation responsibly. Sometimes the most innovative decision is to choose not to automate, is to preserve human judgment where it matters the most. Clear rules don't slow innovation, they make it sustainable. They make it fair, and they make it inclusive to all. They build the public confidence that we need to make sure that AI supports lasting progress and is not just the big bubble which we are living at the moment. It is not optional to regulate, it's not optional to have responsible AI. Only with responsible AI we can ensure the trustworthy innovation and protecting people. So it starts by asking why, and that is the question zero. Before we start using AI, implementing AI, or governing AI, we need to ask, is AI the best option? And it's not just about what can we do with AI, it's more and more about what should we do with AI, when should we do it, and more importantly, who is deciding what and when we are using AI. The future of AI will not be decided by algorithms. It will be decided by us, the ones who choose to use and to govern and to develop it. Let us ensure that this choice reflects our shared humanity. Kazakhstan and Central Asia can shape your own AI path. By promoting responsible and sustainable AI governance, your region can really balance innovation with ethical and cultural values. Thank you.
Professor, thank you very much for sharing with us. And after our description of AI, saying that it's a hype, you put it for us from the sky to the earth. You said that it's a hype, and we should treat it as a not teenager. Okay, I won't. I will be treating it only as a tool, as you mentioned, with special, let's say, specially equipped, some special tool, but it's a tool, as you mentioned. And we need to regulate and we need to use, and let's see how we would be using this in the future. By saying this, let me move to our next speaker, who is Professor Atakan Varol. And what I am proud of, Atakan is working at Nazarbayev University. And for your information, at that university, Atakan led the group who prepared and localized firstly in Kazakhstan artificial intelligence model, which was called LLM. And I think we should provide applauses for this. Localization always is great, yeah, because when we could say here in heart of Eurasia, in Astana, at Nazarbayev University, we have it, it's really cool. Yeah, thank you for that. And by saying this, you're always talking about technology. You're saying that technology is something that it's a forward step for, let's call it singularity in the future. And you was developing such a great platform and systems. Could you please share with us your view? How do you see countries like Kazakhstan? What we should do in terms of AI ecosystems? How we could make it differentiators between global, local, and how we could localize this trend, AI, and what's your thoughts on this? Please share this with us.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, distinguished panelists, and esteemed members of the audience, it is my distinct pleasure to participate in the superbly organized Astana Think Tank Forum today. I hope to add my perspective as an AI technologist from the region, from Kazakhstan, to our discussion. We usually tell the human history through important events, such as battles or treaties, or influential people like Napoleon or Henry Kissinger, or through ideologies and religions like communism and capitalism. However, there is another way, which I like more. We can describe human history as a progression of general-purpose technologies. These are paradigm-shifting inventions that affect the entire economy and have significant spillover effects. And among these, I find information-related GPTs to be the most impactful. These include the invention of speech, writing, printing press, telegraph, transistor, personal computer, the internet, and most recently, generative artificial intelligence. Indeed, generative AI is especially important because many experts predict it is the gateway to artificial general intelligence, which I share this sentiment, a level of AI where AI can perform all tasks better or at the same level of human beings. Many postulate, including Demis Hassabis, Kai-Fu Lee, or Ray Kurzweil, that AGI will shortly lead to technological singularity and accelerated timeline of uncontrollable technological progress. Therefore, right now, there's a huge race underway to reach artificial general intelligence first. Indeed, we can call this as the new great game of the 21st century. There are two AI superpowers, United States and China, and they are in this race. And this game or race is played on 3 different levels. The first level is to create the best transformers, such as Google Gemini or OpenAI's ChatGPT or DeepSeek V3. The second level is to create the computational hardware to train and deploy these AI systems. This is what made NVIDIA the most valuable company of the world with respect to market capitalization. And the third level is to establish electrical power generation capacity to run the energy-hungry AI systems. The next few years will show us who will be the ultimate winner of this game. Kazakhstan, under the leadership of His Excellency, President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev, is gaining recognition as a responsible, reliable, and respected middle power, and it is also taking part in the AI transformation. The country is establishing a legal framework for AI, has created one of the first ministries of artificial intelligence in the world. The nation is also developing its own generative AI models by fine-tuning open source models. It is building data centers and establishing supercomputer clusters. Furthermore, the country is upgrading its power grid and commencing the construction of its nuclear power plants. Here comes an important question. Why should middle powers like Kazakhstan create their own generative AI models and localize AI? After all, models such as ChatGPT, capable of high-level performance, is available via subscription. The answer is multifold. Firstly, global AI models achieve their best performance in the languages of their primary markets. This might be English or Chinese. Their performance for other models, such as Kazakh, Thai, or Urdu, is much lower. Secondly, they are not culturally aligned, because culture differs everywhere in the world, and that is what makes the world a beautiful place. What is acceptable in a North American context might not be suitable for another one. Thirdly, using closed source services, such as Google Gemini, for instance, creates digital dependency and raises data privacy issues. Whatever you are writing is going to somewhere else in the world, and it is definitely stored because no one erases any data anymore. Moreover, these closed source models cannot be easily customized for specific tasks. Now that we have established the need for creating localized AI models, the next question is, how do we do this? Here, I can share our experience at the Institute of Smart Systems and Artificial Intelligence, ISAI, at Nazarbayev University, in creating the Kazakh large language model. Nazarbayev University, just across the street, is a world-class research university which was very recently recognized by Times Higher Education as one of the top 500 universities of the world. And in this university, we think about the future. What should we do such that Kazakhstan is ready for the future? And therefore, in 2019, realizing the importance of artificial intelligence, before AI was yet a headline topic, we have created this Institute of Smart Systems and Artificial Intelligence. Therefore, in early 2024, when we were asked to develop the Kazalelan model, we were ready. We had already established our institute as the largest repository of open source models, data sets, and training recipes in Central Asia and beyond, and had also developed a strong local talent pool, young people. In the Kazalelan project, our main challenge was creating the data set. If you go today to the internet, to the main databases, you realize more than 50% of the internet is in English. Only 0.03% of internet is in Kazakh. Therefore, the data collection was the greatest challenge. Another challenge was how to use supercomputing clusters for efficient and effective model training. Because when companies release open source models, they just give you the model weights. They do not necessarily tell you what type of tricks they have used in order to train them. So we need to figure these out. As I always say, Kazakhstan's greatest strength lies in its youth. The young researchers at ISAI tackled all of these problems with the facilitation of our state, ministries, Ministry of Higher Education and Science, Ministry of Artificial Intelligence, and many others, and our industry partners, Astana Hub, Beeline, and many others. And we delivered the Kazalelan model in December 2024 to Astana Hub, and released it at Hugging Face as an open source model. However, this was not an end, this was a beginning for us. Since then, our institute has introduced a long list of AI models and services. These include Oylan, a multimodal language audio-vision model capable of operating in Kazakh, Russian, and English in the interesting multilingual environment of Kazakhstan. Mengisöz, a text and speech translation engine capable of operating in Kazakh, Russian, English, Chinese, and Turkish, and will be extended soon to 12 languages. And Tilsync, a real-time subtitling service. And on top of that, we recently launched Beynele, a culturally tailored image generation engine. Essentially, when you empower young talent with computational resources in a conducive environment such as a research university, magic happens. I would like to conclude my talk with a note of cautious optimism. Kazakhstan has the potential to be an important player in the age of AI, especially if it focuses on niche areas where it has inherent strengths and pressing needs. We are not as big to compete in everything. We don't have the big tech companies yet, and not for the foreseeable future. However, creating AI models and establishing infrastructure is only one part of the challenge. The integration of these models into processes across business, industry, government, education, and healthcare remains as the major issue. This can only be achieved through close collaboration between academia, state, and industry, all operating under a legal framework for responsible AI that draws from the best practices around the world. Thank you.
Professor, thank you very much. Now I understand why we built this model, only due to your energy, yeah? Because without such energy, we won't be able, yeah, to build the model. It's really great because in each university, the base is professors, yeah? And if professor has the energy, anything, artificial intelligence or anything else could arise, and thank you for that. And I really like how you mentioned Kazakhstan, middle power. It's a power still, yeah, maybe middle, but we have a power, and I'm more than sure that those people who are attending your courses, who are sitting right now, I see a lot of young individuals sitting in this room. We are power, and you are power, each individual, and I'm more than sure by putting some, let's say, and understanding how to use artificial intelligence, we would become even a greater power. Thank you for that, and thank you for your speech. Bayan, let me ask a question like bilingual, yeah? На русском, на английском, language, because I know that for you, with your experience in West East part of our world, you spent a number of years abroad. You was working in real sector. You was working even in Akimat of Almaty, trying to implement different digital spheres. And right now, you're working in LMAI. Yeah, we heard about this, but мы, честно сказать, не так много знаем.
We maybe don't know much about the LMAI. Maybe you talk about that. And the question for you is next one. Do we have the real interest or the demand from the companies like maybe in ethical, responsible artificial intelligence, which will be developed in the future? Thank you very much. Yes, just briefly, I will start with my background, because how to discuss it when not use the technology language, because from my point of view, we do not.
We are underestimating, and we do not yet have clear understanding what shall we have in the end. And the first format, that is the key format when we talk about artificial intelligence. First and foremost, that is intelligence. The second one is we're talking about autonomous artificial intelligence, creating special roads for drones, and AI will be developing the roads for drones. These are already applicable cases that are being. And we should understand where is our place as human beings in all of this. The structure of developing artificial intelligence that you've mentioned quite right when you are comparing it with a teenager, I would call it not even teenager yet, but maybe an infant. The structure of using of algorithms, and especially centralization of these AI algorithms, this creates completely new points for further development. Technically, the whole landscape is changing. Take, for instance, 1986, Alexander Graham Bell invents a telephone. I think 150 years ago, he had no idea that we would have phones, the smartphones that we have today. And I believe the same will happen in 100 years' time. The infrastructure will be completely different. Today, we cannot imagine the world without communication systems at all. The second story, electricity, was once started by Thomas Edison. Again, after in some 100 years' time, it was innovation, completely new innovation, and today the format of that electricity is completely different. So we are now evaluating not the development potential. At the moment, the whole discussion on AI development is from the status quo position, from the position of the algorithm that we use. We've already mentioned a million times the agents, but we compare the AI with agents like GPT chat, etc. But technically, the whole structure is changing, is shifting dramatically. In some 5-10 years, we won't be talking about the AI and meaning the GPT. We will have completely different structure in place for the GPTs. And there is
It's raised by the professor from Birmingham. In my understanding, when we're talking about AI and especially AI ethics, we totally don't really understand what does it mean, the whole understanding of the global ethics. Because the world now living in totally double standards life. So when it's coming to the sovereignty, when it's coming to the certain nations' issues, nobody's talking about the global ethics parts. It's coming to the nation ethics. It's coming to the nation part and national interests. So in my opinion, this is really important because we need to understand what is AI for us. And it's not like AI currently, but AI which is going to be after 10 or 20 or 50 years. This is really important because in the beginning, we have this opportunity to create a really good environment to our children. Because based on this legacy, the whole AI algorithms are going to develop themselves in the future. So you just mentioned the story with a teenager. If teenager will come from the bad family with no restrictions, with no limitations, with very bad culture, believe me, by the time this teenager will be 30 years old, he will not have any principles. So he is like, he will do anything he wants. So that is the point. You need to work with this AI, not like when it's going to be 30 years old. We have this opportunity to work with AI and create this part with ethics. And as Professor Atakan just said, it's like people are creating AI, people creating algorithms. It means that we need to create a very good algorithms for it. The second part, coming back to my story with electricity, with electrical engineering part, etc. Now we need to understand the whole regulation with AI engineers. Because the whole electricity without regulation, it means that everybody will be able to become an electric engineer. And just imagine how bad the whole electricity society will be if we'll not be able to control the whole regulations with all this 220 volt stuff, with all this 2 to 3 ampere stuff, and etc. This is everything about regulations from the beginning. So coming back to your first question, what is Alem AI is doing? Yeah, Alem AI is focused on the developing of the nation who will be able to understand the whole part with AI. It means that everybody need to know AI, need to manage AI, and need to handle AI. And our main perception now through this Alem AI Foundation to create a really good fundamental basement with talented people who will be able to work with AI and use it as a tool. And that is reason why Alem AI, thanks to the support of the president, thanks to the support of the deputy prime minister, is focused on the development of that kind of new generative nation, which will be focused on the tomorrow school with 0-1 edu part, where you'll be able in 2 years, will be able to understand how these AI algorithms are working. The second part is the School for Creativity, the TUMO school. It's under this Alem AI Foundation, and it's focusing on the number of not only thousands, but like creating hundreds of thousands of our generative native representatives who will be able to dedicate their life to work with AI and use AI tools in the future. And Professor Atakan just mentioned that the problem with Kazakh in like a uniqueness is based on the content. Just look like at what kind of level of creativity does our YAS has. You can see a lot of really good books which are coming out. You can hear very beautiful songs coming in pure Kazakh with all this Q-pop style. And this is a content which is created by our people here in Kazakhstan, and that is the reason why we're having more and more references to Kazakh streams. And I think this is something which we need to live at and we need to promote it, because this is a unique part of our society. And with this unique part of our society, we'll be able to create it, to create our own place on this global AI ethics world. And that is like a very specific place for the Central Asia, for the middle power, as you said. The second point, which is related to the technology development. During this digital breach, I do remember that Ilyas Tribulayev said that last 10 years, 10 years ago, top 10 biggest companies was the hardware companies. And now, 7 among these top 10 companies are totally technology companies. How we are going to develop that kind of unique part of Kazakh society based on LLM on the other side, I have my own subjective vision, because I do remember that part which is related to the dot-com boom, when every country was trying to develop their own source engines. Do you remember it was Yahoo there, like a search engines like Google, and eventually after 25 years, there is no sovereign source engines. There is only Google, there is only Bing, Baidu in China, or maybe some kind of source of engines are coming from India and etc. But it's not more than 10 for all the world. And this is really important. So I think this is something we need to understand in advance. We will not be able to compete with the whole world, especially with the big corporate giants in the field which we are not so competent as. So our main opinion, especially with Alem AI Foundation, is to focus on the talented people, creating this really good environment for the talented people here in Kazakhstan, focusing on this content and developing the whole regulations. And as Her Excellency Ms. Smyshlava just mentioned, this is really important for us. When we're talking about AI regulations and AI ethics, I'm pretty sure that we will not be able to develop the whole ethics for the whole global world. And it's totally impossible, because this is always a nation interest. But what we can do here, thanks to the support of Kazakhstan Institute of Strategic Studies, we can create our own framework for at least Central Asian part. Because the whole world is working in that kind of informational environment. You see, there is a big joke about Kazakhstani threats. Do you know about it? It says that Kazakhstan now is a top 3 country who are using threats, meta threats. I'm not really sure, do you understand it? But it's this is very popular. That is it means that Kazakh content, especially driven by this 20 million population, will be able to become the top 3 in the world information list. It means that you, through your voice, through your virtual presence, will be able to create some kind of vision of the nation and promote it through that kind of totally virtual, not physical world. And this is really important. So in my opinion, if Kazakhstan will work only on its own AI ethics, AI regulation part, and Uzbekistan or Kyrgyzstan or Russia will not support it, it means that we will not be able to block our own informational environment. Still, a lot of people will be using Uzbekistani news. A lot of people will be able to use Russian news and etc. So we need to understand that, at least here in the region, we need to create a really big framework of how we are going to use AI. There is a lot of bad and really negative experience of using AI, because AI now can work with your voice, can work with your face, can work even with your behavior analysis, and can call to your mother with your voice, even with a video call, and ask money. This is very specific. I'm pretty sure that in the next 2 years, that is going to be a totally disaster. So that is the reason why we need to focus on that kind of, not just ethical issues through that kind of understanding of behavior part, but have a strong penalty for using AI in negative world. So this is something like this. I'm not going to use more time, but thank you.
Bayan, thank you very much because you're so passionate, and I'm really glad that our president said and proclaimed that we should be closer to AI. And right now, Alem AI, we have it as a platform, and such passionate members of Board of Trustees are there. It's really great, and I'm more than sure that this platform will give us to, as you mentioned, to build this capacity of thousands of people, yeah, who will be able to use AI in the future. And I'm really glad that you compared AI right now with like not a teenager, like an infant, where we have a step-in opportunity and we are able to develop something. Usually what we are doing on the forums, we are talking, nobody is speaking. That's why I would like to provide the floor to questions. However, before that, let me give one question to Professor Karamjit, and let me say why. Because Professor Karamjit established his journal, Artificial Intelligence and Society, in 1987. Just imagine, 83, even earlier, 83. I could tell you that at that time I was not even thinking about AI because I was recently born. And how you predicted? Because AI became a trend only a few years ago, and you already done it 40 years ago. How it happened, and what's your thoughts after this 40 years of study? What you believe it will bring some benefit to humanity, or as Bayan has mentioned, is a more threat for? I'm not talking about social media, but let's use it as a word. Yeah, please share with us.
Well, in 1983, I organized the first European conference on artificial intelligence for society. Some of us, young people, got very concerned. What would happen if our students actually become managers of future, decision makers, policy makers, and they are fed by technology. They live by technology. In those days, technology was very simple. But concern was that in the future, maybe 10 years, 20 years, 50 years, we will have a situation in which all decision makers will start believing technology can solve your problems. So that was the motivation. And then the question arose, well, fine, if motivation is good enough, you can think aloud, but how do you move forward? As an academic, one possibility was to provide a platform for cross-disciplinary research, cross-cultural research. And who will fund you? So fortunately for us, Springer came forward and said they're happy to fund something which will look into the future. So that was the beginning of that. And I just give you one very simple story. In 1983, Professor Maggie Bowden, the famous British professor, AI scientist, gave a speech, Cannibals and Missionary. Perhaps you have heard the story, in which she implied the future of technology may be cannibalistic. But all the missionaries, academic, policymakers, media people, are standing on one side of the river. The challenge is, can the cannibals and missionaries live together, cross the river together? And that's the problem we're still facing. not new. We are talking about ethical way of designing technology algorithms, looking at the fundamental social problems, looking at the regional crossing the borders. So that was the first and I started reading it on my plane after 45 years and reminded myself that, my God, this is another inspiration, sorry, can I? There were two fundamental issues, a number of them. When we say what is AI ethics, what is socially responsible AI? And that reminded me Gandhi. He was asked, what do you think of democracy? And his answer was, well, democracy is a good thing, provided you know what it is. So I think AI is a good thing. AI development is a good thing. AI for society is a good thing, provided you know what your purpose is.
Thank you, Professor. We should know, and again, I would like to thank such platform and especially International Institute of Strategic Research for organizing this forum, because we are discussing right now such topic, and I'm more than sure we would be much more familiar with this topic and how to use it. Wow, I see so many hands. Let me start with the gentleman who is sitting on the first row, and then I see two hands over there, please.
I want to thank organizers for this insightful event. Thank you very much, and distinguished guests. And my question about AI bubble, I think recently the term AI bubble is trending very fast, and some people started to notice from different communities the graphics that AI bubble is very similar to .com bubble in 2000s, and some people say that it will be positive, but it will be negative, and I wanted to hear your opinions about when will it pop, will it even pop, and will it be negative or positive, just your honest opinion and vision. Thank you.
Yeah, Professor, Virginia, please.
Yes, thank you very much for your question. Actually, the AI cycle of development in the last 70 years, as long as AI exists, has been characterized by what we call the AI winters and AI summers. We have been in the last few years in one of the biggest summers of AI, which generate this bubble, but before we have been in winters for many years in which no one, except a few of us like Professor Karamjit and myself and others, were working on AI. I don't think it's a question that there is a bubble. Yes, there is a bubble. It's been, for a large part, geared and driven by investments, like all other bubbles, the dot-com bubble, by the tendency that we have to overestimate the capacities of a technology in the short term, but then we are very bad at estimating the capacities of technology in the long term. So once the short term kind of finishes, the bubble bursts, because we thought it would be, like I said, a solution to all our problems, and actually is much less than that, and fortunately for all of us is less than that. So I do believe that the bubble is going to burst very soon, which is actually a good thing for all of us. It will bring us back to a more sane and more calm type of environment in which we can talk about the capabilities of AI, the benefits of AI in a much more balanced way than just rushing after the investments that we are seeing now. Actually, the research institute that I lead in Sweden, the AI Policy Lab, we are organizing in December a webinar with very large names of world speakers talking exactly about how can we as countries, as public sector, as organizations prepare to the development and use of AI after the bubble bursts. So I share that on LinkedIn, but I can share with any of you that are interested in joining that seminar about what world experts think that is going to happen when the AI bubble is burst. But again, it's not a bad thing, is exactly what we need at this moment to get into a much more calm and balanced way to use AI. With the dot-com bubble, when it burst, it didn't mean that we stopped using the internet. It didn't mean that we stopped making businesses and buying and selling things on the internet, but it all became a much more controlled, structured, and predictable reality than what things were during a bubble.
Right, it's a great question. You are looking at the AI bubble, but I would like to look at it from a different perspective. Imagine you go to 1990 and look at all the highest market capitalization companies around the world. It will be General Motors, maybe Walmart, maybe Toyota, a bunch of oil companies, etc. Then in 2001, we have the dot-com burst. But go to 2010, before AI became popular, but internet was making its effects. Amazon, Google, Meta were the most valuable companies of the world as well. So basically, at the steady state, it has been a huge paradigm shift in the economy due to internet. And now, we might be just riding a hype, we might have extremely high market caps and expectations, and it will just go to a steady state. But I genuinely believe that the effect of AI, because it is a much more general purpose technology, will be greater than internet when we look at the distant steady state.
I think this is a really good question, but when we're talking about investments, we need to understand about the whole practical efficiency which is coming with this money, right? So if you talk about the dot-com boom, this is really good numbers. It was coming by the Stanford University, and I think this was something like McKinsey was doing together with them. So by the millennium, with all these dot-com booms, the total amount of investments in these IT companies before dot-com boom was not exceeding $41 billion. And it was for more than 8 years since the whole IT stuff was just started. And with this, it was like Atari games, do you remember this stuff? With the games, with this HP Garage and etc. So for this AI part, by 2024, by September 2024, the whole number of investments already exceeded $1 trillion. Just imagine, this is like a totally different number. And there is an estimation by the 2035, the whole amount of investments in AI is going to be equal to $20 trillion from the whole world. This is not just a number. It means that when you're spending so much money, you are creating not only one industry, you are creating the totally different platform organization. And this is a total different style with all this management of the governance efficiency on the local government part. It's not just like a telecommunication infrastructure. It's not even a railway infrastructure, which is supposed to be the most expensive one. This is something which is going to cover everything. Just imagine, with $20 trillion, what are you going to do? What kind of stuff you are going to build? Of course, there's going to be a bubble. And we just talked with colleagues now. There is going to be a big disappointment with AI, but I'm not really sure that this disappointment is going to come with all this unexpected efficiency. I'm pretty sure that AI will bring a lot of efficiency. But the most important point is that we are not going to be happy with this efficiency, because this is something specific. It means really big influence on this unemployment rate in the beginning. This is really huge problem, because now we see 5 to 10% is quite okay, but with AI by 2035, probably it's going to be like 30 and above.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of problems are going to come.
Thank you, speakers. Let me give a floor to this lady, please.
Thank you very much. My name is Sabina Insibaeva. I represent Nazarbayev University. So considering that AI can bring both equality and inequality to the world at the international level, how should Kazakhstan balance between its willingness to become one of the most economically competitive countries in the world with its desire to stay as a constructive and responsible middle power? Because if countries will focus on local models of regulation, it might lead to world fragmentation. And considering that Kazakhstan's foreign policy is known for its multi-vectorness, Kazakhstan don't want to end up in this situation. When it comes to economic competitiveness, we know that innovation and technological development, certain things can be done when your hands are not tied by searches of consensus. Thank you very much.
Екатерина Васильевна, мне кажется, без вас мы здесь не
Ekaterina Vasilina, I believe we need your help here. If you will, I would like to answer on the on the gentleman's question regarding the bubble. That is one of the most interesting discussions worldwide. We need to remember that all the bubbles grow and burst, and this can be regulated. And the theory of bubbles today are developed and are regulated by marketing tools, because there is an intensive movement of investment, and we're not talking about people with us or technologies for peace, for benefit. It's all about money. So believing in the theory of bubbles and trying to forecast whether they will burst or not and when are they going to burst is not our task, because we are not a part of that investment competition. Even at the level of our country, of our state, we have defined for ourselves quite clear targets in terms of developing AI, and we are now gradually moving towards these goals. We've restricted ourselves. We have the right amount of the computing equipment that we need. We have our interests clear set. We have defined our role and our place in this competition based on the strategy of our president. So I believe that in this case, it is not quite essential for us when this bubble will burst out, but how the AI will be used, and we don't need to listen to skepticists, because skeptics used to prefer horses over cars one time. So we need to keep in pace, and learn, explore the new models, try to apply and use them. So theorists say that the average level of development, there will be no average level of development. Everything will be either too good or too bad, and the middle ones will be replaced by the algorithms. So I think we do not need to discuss when the bubble will burst out. We just need to keep in pace and apply everything state of the art, explore, learn from all the points of view, including the risks. Regarding regulation, I will not agree. Local models, we may face fragmentation inside of the same digital code under one jurisdiction, and we are now elaborating the digital code. And when we're providing grounds for this document, one of the most strongest argument was the fragmented regulation within the same jurisdiction, and that is pity, because it does not allow the process to permeate along the other disciplines and sectors. Fragmented character within within global legal framework is unavoidable, and hence we're talking about not about the fragmentation, but about the digital legal sovereignty, which is today under big question worldwide, because, as I've mentioned, the influence of transnational interests of transnational corporations today quite often breaches the legal sovereignty of states, and we need to be very cautious about this, because today many countries, when they are opening to the world, they become the regulatory sandboxes to the other countries that have very strict internal regulatory norms. And European Union is a huge and bright example of that. They have the strictest regulation norms, including the GDPR. They have the strictest regulatory act in terms of AI, and they protect their citizens worldwide based on these acts, highlighting and declaring their extraterritoriality. In the meanwhile, narratives of international organizations today state to the developing countries, you do not need to regulate anything. Your legal framework should be open. And then we receive this huge amount of regulatory sandboxes and a very small amount of protected legal regulations. I think we need to search for balance. We need to recognize national interests, and we should not run from one angle to the other. We need to take a balanced approach. We have not yet applied super strict regulatory tools that would drive away the larger players, but we have provided basic norms to protect our own citizens from potential risks that they may face when certain massive technologies will be introduced. So we need to avoid any fanatism and be objective. And thank you. Thank you very much. Undoubtedly, fanatism, we do need to keep balance in everywhere and in everything.
Quite a great discussion. Usually what we are lacking time. We were discussing that during this short period of time, we need to work with this infant to make this infant more controllable, more understandable, more predictable. And what I'm glad is that our distinguished speakers highlighted those important areas for today. And it's really great that during such a great forum as a think tank, we are discussing this topic, and as a Kazakhstan, we have a future. As Professor Atakan mentioned, we are really acting as a middle power, and we are already developing our localized platform. Professor Karamjit mentioned that this trend started a long time ago, and still some ethical dilemmas and ethical approach should be taken. We understand from Majlis that Majlis is paying a lot of attention towards this topic, and from this digital code, we understand what to do. And again, I would like to mention this world balanced approach and protect of our citizens, which is quite important. From Professor Virginia, right now, we heard what is artificial intelligence. This is a tool. And again, we should use this tool. And in the future, I'm more than sure that this tool should be regulated. And Professor Virginia participated in such activities in European Union and shared with us her thoughts. And Bayan, with his passion, mentioned a lot about Alem AI, that what our different companies are doing, how they're reflecting president's requests and orders in terms of developing more AI capabilities. And I see and I strongly believe in the future. Once again, Jando, thank you very much for organization, for all of you who are here today with such a great intention to have such platform. Thank you very much for this, and let's make Kazakhstan great again. Thank you.
Thank you. That's kind of you.